Can you think of a challenging time in your life when you found that you found hope or you found positivity during a hard time despite the difficulties? Do you ever think about that? Like you were going through a tough time, but you found hope, you found light. Let's talk about finding the light in darkness, finding the hope and growth during difficult times. That's what we're here to talk about today, which brings me to today's quote. And today's quote is about light and darkness, right? So let's talk about it. The quote of the week says, it is during our darkest moments that we must focus to see the light. It is during our darkest moments that we must focus to see the light. That was Aristotle, by the way, in case you're wondering who wrote that. It's inside the Maximize Your Life Planner. If you haven't picked it up, definitely go pick it up, maximizeyourlifeplanner.com. There's a quote of the week, and there's also a declaration of the week, which we'll get to a little later. But going back to the quote, let's break it down. It's during our darkest moments. Now, think about that real quick. Think about a time in your life that you struggled. Think about a time in your life that there was a hardship, adversity, that you were going through a challenge, right? Think about that real quick. Now, it says, darkest times, but let's be real. Don't we all go through challenging times? Don't we all face difficulties? That's a part of life, right? And what it reminds me of is peaks and valleys. Peaks and valleys. See, the thing about peaks and valleys is you got to think about it. For me, I'll give you an example of my life. One of the valleys that I was going through was back in the day during 2008, when the economy took that big dip. I had my own side business. I had a small business doing graphics and marketing. And because the economy took a dip, I found myself in a valley. I found myself at a point in my life, I was struggling and I was trying to get back on my feet. I ended up getting a job because my business wasn't where it was supposed to be. I got a job and I still wasn't happy there. But I was going through the valley. And it reminds me of Psalms 23:4. Psalms 23:4. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. See, we're going through the valley. We're going through the darkness. It's death, right? But there's no fear. Why? Because I already know life brings challenges. It's important to see the challenges and address them, but more importantly, to remember who's with you. God is with you. I just said that. The Psalms right there, I fear no evil, for I know who's with me. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, right? That's what the good book says. So how you manage the valley determines how soon you reach the next peak. I'm going to repeat that. How you manage the valley determines how soon you get to the next peak. So for me, I was in that struggle during 2008. Actually, it was 2007 going to 2008. And when I was going through that valley in 2007, in the beginning of 2008, I said to myself, you know what? I'm done with this. I really want to change my life. See, you have to find beauty in both. You have to find beauty in the darkness. You have to find beauty in the light. You have to find beauty in the valley to find beauty in the peak. There's beauty in both. So, for instance, as I'm walking through that valley, that hard time during 2007, I'm looking at the peak, looking at my goals, looking at the life I want, and saying to myself, wow, look at that mountain peak, right? And then when you do achieve those goals, see, one of the things I did in 2008, which I thank God, that's a lesson within a lesson, I moved to a new state. I moved to Florida. I wanted to start fresh. I wanted a clean slate. One of the best decisions I made in my life. I came to a city I didn't know anyone in this city. I didn't know anyone in Tampa. But what did that do? It helped me grow. And I got to some goals. I achieved some things. I moved forward in my career, moved forward in my business. I got to one of the mountaintops. I'm going to explain to you why I say one of the mountaintops. Because here's what happens. When you get to the mountaintop, two things you see. Remember I said there's beauty in both the valley and the peak? In the valley, you're looking at the mountaintop like, wow, that's a nice mountain. Can't wait to get to that top. And then when you get to the mountaintop, You appreciate the valley. You're like, whoa, I came from all the way down there. Look at the stream. Look at the village. But you know what else happens at the mountaintop? You see the next mountaintop because you're so high. You're like, what's that mountain over there? That's another goal. So I was reading a book once. I forgot the name of it. I believe it's by the author is Ray Dalio. I believe it's Principles, I believe it's called. But what he talks about is how you have these goals, meaning the peak, right? You're seeing the peak. And then you're in the valley. So you're going through these problems, these challenges, these obstacles. And you have to evaluate these obstacles. So you can set your goal. Now you're going through these challenges, and then you got a plan, and then you got to go do it. So let me give you an example. The goal is the mountaintop. I see the mountaintop. That's the goal. I'm like, you know what? I want to be up there. It looks so cool. The problem, I got to hike through all that forest and up that mountain to get up there. Man, that looks tough. So I got to evaluate. So now you evaluate. You look around and you think. After you evaluate, you got to make a plan. So the plan is, okay, that's a big mountain. So my plan is, instead of going directly up, I'm going to go diagonal or around, because I can, at least it won't be that steep and it won't get me that tired. Let me go on at a diagonal, right? So that's the plan. What are you going to do after you plan it? You do it. But here's the thing that I just talked about earlier, that once you do it, you're at the top and you see the next mountain. And now you're going back, and once again, you see the next mountain, and now you're thinking about the problem. You're like, I got to go down to that valley. I got to go down the valley, go back up, because I want to get to that mountain. So it's an ongoing thing. So that's why you have to get good at loving both. You have to love both the light and the dark. But you got to see the beauty in both. Yeah, I wouldn't say you have to like both. You have to see the beauty in both, because there's one is not without the other. It's like positive and negative. You can't have one without the other. All right? Now, the quote continues. The quote that we're talking about today, it says that we must, key word, we must focus. Must is a necessity. Like, you have to concentrate and be intentional. It says you must focus. What does it mean by focus? Is to maintain a clear and steady mind. You're focusing on one thing. See, especially during tough times, it's important to be focused. They say that when emotions are high, intelligence gets low. So when you find yourself in an emotionally high point, like maybe you're really angry, maybe you're really frustrated, even sometimes when the emotions are high and you get too excited, right? And you're like, oh man, why did I just do that? Because you were way too excited. Emotions are high, intelligence gets low. Sometimes you got to take a couple breaths and relax, cool down. One thing that my wife is really good at, she always reminds me, because I deal a lot with text messages and stuff like that, voice memos. So when I'm dealing with clients and stuff like that, if I read a text, and you got to remind yourself sometimes that sometimes text don't always come out how they should come out, because I may read it in a different tone than it was perceived, right? So she always reminds me, hey, if it's like in the evening, she go, hey, you don't have to respond right now. Sleep on it. Why? Because emotions are high. I'm like, what? What are they trying to say, right? And we all let these things get the best of us. We have to learn how to control our emotions, especially during difficult times. Now, true focus, when you're truly focused, is deliberate action. Like, you are making it happen, and it requires effort and discipline. What do I say? Effort and discipline? Well, effort's obvious. You got to go like really focus. That's an effort. That's an action. But discipline, I don't know about y'all, but there's a lot of distractions out there. And when there's a lot of distractions, it's more difficult to focus. So you have to be disciplined when it comes to focus. Now, for me, I don't just like talking about problems, obstacles. I consider myself, I heard this word once, I love it, a solutionary, right? If there's a problem, I'm going to find a solution to it. And not only am I going to find it, I also believe in servant leadership. I'm going to share it. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to give you 3 techniques to maintain focus. First and foremost, meditation and prayer. I believe that by meditating, especially meditating on the word, meditating on your thoughts, meditating on what you want in life, praying about it, letting the Holy Spirit speak to you, and getting clear thoughts on what you truly want. When you really pause and be still, you're gonna get the answers that you need, because this is gonna become clear to you. The second thing, setting small, manageable habits. See, by doing the small things, you're not focused on, if you do one small thing, you can move to the next small thing, to the next small thing, you're focused. But when you have all this stuff that you want to do, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this, I want to do that. Oh my God, look how big this goal is. And you got so much stuff going on, it's hard to focus. And last but not least, this may be like a shameless plug, but I truly believe this is a great way to get focused, which is why I created this planner. And that's number 3, is to use a planner or a journal to track your thoughts, track your plans, track your progress. See, when I made a commitment to take my sales business to the next level, one of the things I understood I lacked. See, you have to be real with yourself, especially when you're going after your goals. I understood that I wasn't that well organized. I needed help getting organized. So what did I do? I went out there and I bought a planner. The month I bought a planner and got really organized about my goals, about my appointments, about my clients, about following up, about meeting people, about sharing my calendar with people. That was one of the biggest months in my entrepreneur career. So once again, number 3 is use a planner. And if you're looking for this one particularly, www.maximizeyourlifeplanner.com. Just saying. Now, it reminds me, especially focus, it reminds me of Philippians 4:8. If you look at Philippians 4, if you turn, it says, finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are good report, if there is a virtue and if there's anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things. Meditate on these things. What does that mean? Fix your thoughts on what is true, on what is honorable, on what is right, on what is pure, on what is lovely, and what is admirable. See, when it says to meditate, to think about these things, think about the things that are worthy to praise. What can you get excited about? What do you really want to see in your life? To think is to focus. Focus on these things. Like truly. See, when you fill your mind with constructive and uplifting thoughts, when you really fill your mind with those ideas, we counteract negativity. We counteract despair. We're not worried. We're not angry. We're not upset. Why? Because we're filling our thoughts with what I just said. We're filling our thoughts with what is true. We're filling our thoughts with what is honorable. We're filling our thoughts with what is right, what is pure, what is lovely. That's what we're filling our mind with. And when we do that, it creates a positive result. And then the quote ends, to see the light. So let me read the quote in its entirety once again. It is during our darkest time, it's during our darkest moments that we must focus to see the light. It is during our darkest moments that we must focus to see the light. Light. See, when I think of the word light, I think of hope. I think of solutions. I think of positivity. I think of opportunity. Despite any difficulties, despite what's going on, there's always going to be a solution. There's always a better way. If not a better way, a positive aspect to find. See, right now, you might be going through a challenge. You might be going through an obstacle. You might be going through a tough time, a problem. I get it. But you have to look at the flip side. Like I said earlier, to every positive, every negative, there's a positive. Every positive, there's a negative. When you go up, you must come down. When you go down, you can go up. There's both sides to each coin. So when you're in that dark time, and I know sometimes it can be tough, you have to find the solution. You have to focus to see the light. That's the main thing about this quote, is to focus to see the light. Fix your focus. What you focus on expands. If you focus on the light, guess what? You're going to get more light. You're going to get more positivity. So fix your focus on the light. And speaking of light, I'm going to tell you a quick story about light. Back in the 1920s, in the late 1920s, General Electric, I don't know if you ever heard of that company, General Electric. They make all kinds of things from cars to lights to everything, right? General Electric conducted a research experiment. And they had a group of women that worked on the assembly line in production, and they were assembling motors. So they wanted to do a research study on women that were in the assembly line constructing motors in production line, right? And they told them, they like, look, we're going to look for the best combination of working conditions to achieve the highest level of productivity with the smallest mistakes. So they're looking to change the environment, what's the working conditions of how they work, to make sure that the productivity is high and the mistakes are low. Okay, so hear me. So this is back in the late 1920s. First, the first thing they did to the environment, to the working condition, is they turned up the lights. So on the production line, they turned up the lights. And when they turned up the lights, in a couple days, just a couple days, production went up. Defects went down. And the researchers were like, whoa, just by turning up the lights, production went up and defects went down? That's pretty cool. So they got excited with it and like, okay, let's see the opposite. Let's turn down the lights. So they decreased the lights. Anyone want to take a guess what happened when they decreased the lights? See, I don't know. Maybe someone thinks like me. I was like, maybe production went down. And to their surprise, nah, production went up. And they're like, what? What? Like production went up. So they're experimenting, and they said, you know what, let's experiment with other working conditions. So we try lights up, lights down. How about noise level up, noise level down, room temperature up, room temperature down, moving seating arrangements this way, seating arrangements that way. And every single time, no matter if it went up or down, they were getting better and better. Production was getting better and better. Production was up. And the researchers were confused. They were like, what? They were baffled. And then they took the group of women after several weeks of research, and they asked them, why do you think, because they were telling them what was happening, like they told them afterwards what happened. They said, why do you think, since you guys were in production, you guys were there, why do you think the production levels have gone up no matter what the variables were, no matter what the condition was? The production levels always went up. And the woman said to the researchers, this is what they said to them. They said, we never been singled out and treated as anything other than simple factory workers. So since in that moment, when they were told that they were part of a research experiment, it increased their self-esteem. It increased their self-respect. They're like, whoa, the company cares about us. They value us. They were focused, key word, they were focused on the light. They were focused on that the respect has gone up. Their self-esteem has gone up. Each change, listen to this. This is what the lady said. Each change, when the lights went down, when the temperature went up, when the temperature went down, when they moved their chairs around, each change reminded them to focus on the fact that they were selected. They were the ones going through this. So they worked harder and better to show them that you chose the right people. You chose the right ones this time. How crazy is that? Because of what they were focused on. And that just reminds me of, there's a part in the Bible that Jesus is talking. It's in Matthew 5:16. He says, let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. So when you do whatever you do, let it be your job, let it be your career, let it be your business, let it be how you parent, let it be just how you show up, how you talk, how you do it live, how you draw, how you sing, how you sweep, how you mop. Whatever it is that you do, be a light, be great at it, do your best as if your good works were glorifying your Father in heaven, as if your good works were a representation of God himself. That's what I felt like those ladies were doing. They're like, oh, you picked the right ones. See, once again, I'm going to leave you with the quote. It is in our darkest moments that we must focus to see the light. We must focus to see the light. And let me remind you, don't just focus on the light. Don't just focus on seeing the light. Don't just focus on seeing the positivity. Don't just focus on seeing the opportunity. Don't just focus on seeing the solution. Don't just focus on all that. All right? Don't just focus on the light. What you also want to focus on is becoming the light, becoming the positivity you want to see, creating the opportunities people would be blessed to partner with you on, discovering the solution that can help others out of their darkness. What if you create that solution of light that helps someone else out of their darkness, out of their tough time? Remember this, listen close. Darkness cannot destroy light. Darkness cannot destroy light. It defines it. The darker an area is, if light comes in, it defines the light. Look, light's coming from over there. Once again, darkness does not destroy light. It defines it. In order for light to shine bright, darkness must be present. Isn't that interesting? Darkness must be present. Now, darkness cannot drive out darkness. It was Martin Luther King said that. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. So when they're hating on you, when they're talking behind your back, when the naysayers are making it dark around you, when you're going through a struggle, when you're being hated on, when you're feeling defeated, remember, love is the only thing that can do that. Love is the only thing that can defeat hate. Just like light is the only thing that can defeat darkness. Love them. Focus on the light. Be the positivity. Be the opportunity. Become the opportunity. Be the solution. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings me to our declaration today. This declaration is hot. I'm excited about it because it goes hand in hand with the quote. And this week's declaration of the week is, I am a light that gives hope, inspiration, and belief for others to achieve their dreams. Once again, I am the light that gives hope, inspiration, and belief for others to achieve their dreams. The reason we say declarations is we're declaring this upon our life. We're speaking from our heart in faith. We're speaking to our subconscious mind and declaring this upon our life. I am a light that gives hope, that gives inspiration, that gives belief for others to achieve their dreams. See, what I want to challenge you and leave you with today, this is my final thought. I want you to think of yourself like a lighthouse. Think of yourself like a lighthouse. A lighthouse doesn't go running around all around the island looking for boats to save. Like, oh, what boat can I save today? No, it just stands there firm, shining bright. It's a pillar that helps guide people home. It helps guide boats home. Imagine you treated life like that, like you were a lighthouse and you just stood firm, bright, living life in all greatness, just doing as much as you can, as best as you can, providing, being a servant leader. That's what I love about the lighthouse. It's a servant. It's not interested in who's getting the light. It doesn't care who gets the light. It's just shining. The lighthouse is just shining. I don't care who gets the light. It just gives it out without thinking of anything else. That's it. It's giving the light. That's all it does. It gives light. That's all it does. It was built. Listen to this. The lighthouse was built to serve. Does that sound familiar? You too were designed to serve. We were designed to create. We were designed to connect, and we were designed to contribute, to serve. A good man once said, the greatest amongst you will be servants. What does that mean? Service to many leads to greatness. So I leave you with the declaration one more time. I am a light that gives hope, inspiration, and belief for others to achieve their dreams. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate everyone that's watching this live. If you're watching the replay and you want to share, or you just finished, press the share button, press the like button, comment down below. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe. Check out the other videos as well. I want to thank you so much for your support. Let's go live life to the max, and let's go impact this world. Peace out.